Did you bring some fish?
That is quite logical, Captain.
Where shall I strike?
Test your might. Test your might.
Get it out! Get it out!
Test your might. Test your might.
Your mother was a murderer! You smell like a leopard! You are not prepared.
Hello and welcome to the Geek Card, show 119. I am Razerbug, and with me, as always, is the wonderful Robbie Glow.
Hello.
Hello, hello, hello. How are you, Robbie?
I'm good. It's bloody cold, but I'm good.
It is, and I'm glad you are.
What,
I'm-
cold or bloody good?
Bloody good.
Jolly good.
I am cream crackered because I have just been in the gym, and it's been difficult getting back after a Christmas lull.
Oh god, the first day must be the worst, though. Sure.
Well, the first day was last week. No, actually, the first day was the week before that, and then last week I only managed to get in on one day. But then this week, I'm going to get in 3 days. So that did mean, unfortunately, going straight from work into the gym, and then straight from the gym into the headphones and on the air with you. So,
Oh, bloody hell. You're taking your first breath now, so
yes, as I've said on Twitter before. It turns out that leveling Barbarian IRL is very difficult. It takes more than just XP.
have you been using one of those apps that are like life RPGs and stuff, though?
I did sign up for the site after it was recommended, and I went through and realised that actually a lot of the achievements I've already done because I've been doing it since March of last year. So I sort of ticked off the ones I'd done, and it said you're going for a warrior class. I thought, well, all right, I can't argue with that. I am doing pure strength training. But I haven't really gone back to it. I think I need to go back a second time now I'm back in the gym and actually start seeing how it works. But for me, it's not as helpful because I go to the gym with someone who's a competitive powerlifter. So they basically tailor my workout plan, and shout at me to get things done. So that's enough motivation for me.
Yeah. I had a very weird Twitter recommendation earlier today.
Oh yes,
The Obscure Cast.
really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I didn't even know the Twitter account was still there.
I guess it is, yeah. I ought to reach out to Gazimov at some point and see if he's interested
I mean,
in
the
doing
last
that
the
again.
last post was in 2015, which sounds about right.
Yeah.
And
Well,
the last
Sorry, go
last one is do you want to hear more from us? You can listen to the Geek Card.
Oh, I'm glad I had the forethought to cross-pollinate between my podcasts. I'll say my podcast.
Yeah.
I was only a co-host on that one.
I know, but it just made me laugh because I was like, why is this being recommended to me? And I'm guessing probably because the followers,
Yeah, I guess so.
people I follow would probably follow that, so their algorithm has gone, you know what you might like.
Yeah, that's probably true. It's weird synchronicity as well, because just the other day I was digging through my T-shirts actually to put together my gym kit and pulled out a black T-shirt only to find it was the Obscure Cast branded one that
bloody hell.
I did when I went to conventions. So, yeah,
That's
very, very
amazing.
funny.
That is amazing. I love it. Love it.
Oh, Obscure Cast. I don't think I've actually, up until the other day, I don't think I'd actually heard or thought about that name and since 2015.
Since that last tweet.
Yeah, basically since that last tweet. Yeah.
Oh, dearie me.
I should reach out and see if we can get some of the old co-hosts onto the Geek Card.
Oh, God. Poison them with this one. This mess of a podcast. Oh.
The hot mess that is
the Hot Mess
basically-
Express. Yes, that's the
basically Robbie and Razerbug down the pub bitching about WoW.
one. I mean, oh God, you say that this week. It really is.
Speaking of, why don't we bitch about WoW?
It is a bit. It is a bit of a bitch about WoW because fuck me, like Mythics are a pain in the arse.
I didn't know any of these changes that were coming up, so I was really quite. And also, because apparently Damurai has decided that Death Knight tanks are now broken in Mythics.
They got nerfed.
So
they got nerfed. Yeah.
So now I'm donning my sword and board and going in there and doing the tanking, which is great. This is something I enjoy. But I hadn't realised that any of these changes had happened. So in we all rush in what I think will be a sort of, we won't do it in the time, but we'll get through it. And bloody hell, there was just something just wasn't happening.
Like it was a level 5 key, and normally the jump from 4 to 5 is minimal. In Legion, it was minimal. It was when you started getting into 8s and 9s trying to get the double-digit keys where you noticed the step up. And for some reason, we did this Siege level 5 key, and all was going, it was all right. Until we got to the first boss, and we're like, bloody hell, why are we dying so quick to this? And then it was a case of, we know what the tactics are, so it's not that. And we know how the mechanics work where you have to block things, and that's fine. But anytime that the boss got anywhere near anyone that wasn't the tank, it was like 1 or 2 hits and they were down.
Yeah.
No matter what I did as a healer, no matter how many protects, no matter how many bubbles, no matter how much group healing I did, it just wasn't happening. And
no, I mean, it was 1 hit for like more than the total health pool of most of the characters, including the Death Knights, who are notoriously hard to kill.
Yeah, and I mean, we had both sort of DPS Death Knights because Damurai was playing as Frost. And the first thing I noticed was like, why is Bert so squishy? And then that got onto the topic of, it's because there's been class changes. And I was like, so this is why you don't want to tank anymore at the moment. Got it.
Yeah, I mean, I was feeling it as well. My self-heals were not going off as much as I expected them to. So my timings were all off. Like I thought, I can take another couple of hits before I self-heal. Nope.
Not at all. Not at all. But we can go and talk about those in a bit. But we'll get on. But we did some raiding, and we managed to get to I'd say it was a new boss, but it's a new boss on our level of raiding because we've done LFR.
Yes. We've seen this boss before, but
never in the true entirety of how bastardy he is.
No,
we're talking about Zul from the All Dear raid,
which should now be known as the Oh Dear raid.
The Oh Dear of there's no wall on this invisible. There's no invisible wall here. We're dead. Oh dear. Although it does make wiping up easier. When Raven's like done the call of right, that's it. We're gonna start again. Everyone jump off, and you just see 12 characters turn from the boss and just run in any direction and jump off. But we've done pretty well so far in raiding. I think we've been doing a couple of heroics runs as well, and we've got the first boss consistently dead. Mother is proving to be the added layer of not only are there Resident Evil lasers coming from one side, they're now coming from the other side of the room. So now not only have you got them going horizontal, they're now going vertical as well.
I think we'll have that fight on heroic though. I think all we need to do is change the amount of people going through and when they go through.
Yeah,
because we've got a big old group.
There was a couple of times when we had people run, but either it was mistimed by the fact that sometimes the consistency of when things happen changes without warning, according to D&amp, because a lot of us rely on D&amp to say, right, we've got 5 seconds before this thing starts, and then the 5 seconds would come, and either the thing's already started happening, or it's been delayed by a couple of extra seconds that we could have used to hit the boss. And that results in people taking a substantial hit in their health before they go running through the wall that ultimately hurts everybody in the raid as they go through it. That's how it works. So, yeah.
The other issue there is that the order and the amount of people that we were using in normal mode, it basically just straight up kills us on heroic if a large group of people go through as the second group.
It's definitely ramped up in some degree. I don't know whether it's done on a percentage of health Or
But again, I think it's just we had this problem when we first did it on normal. All we need to do is just get the amount and the timings right, and then it'll just click into place like it did with normal.
and did you also notice how like the wind rush thing into the fire mechanic had a bigger effect on, like, you had to preempt which way it was going and hope that you picked the right direction, otherwise you were going to be hit by it.
Yeah, I mean, mages with blink and demon hunters with just fucking far too much movement, and obviously my paladins got their charger. So I those classes have got a way of basically just mitigating the wind. I mean, if I pop my charger, I would basically just run on the spot. But yeah, other classes are finding it more difficult and having to preempt like where they're standing before the fire starts.
I did notice that someone, one of the hunters, we have a couple of hunters, so I can't remember who it was, but one of them had preempted the way it was going, got it wrong, but then they did a 180 degrees and then retaliate. What's the jump mechanic?
Disengage.
It just pressed disengage, and of course it popped them the right way.
Oh yeah, I mean, I remember from when I was playing my hunter, because I played a hunter twice now. I played a hunter in Cataclysm, raided as a hunter in Cataclysm, and then I played it again in the beginning of Kulturas, whatever this expansion is called, Bazaroth. BFA. I know, and actually the learned skill of run forward, swing yourself 180, disengage, swing yourself back to do a jump forward in effect. It came back to me quite quickly. I think it's just one of those things that hunters learn, and then once you've got it, it becomes like second nature of just, oh shit, quickly redirect myself and then leap backwards. But yeah, they've not really properly fixed the derpy pets either. The pets
don't
seem to be able to
at the door. Yeah.
And in one of the rooms, the pet teleport. Oh, it's in the very first boss's room. Actually, the pets teleport across the threshold. Like, you run forward, the pet disappears. You run into the room and a few steps further, and then the pet reappears.
I've also noticed in the mother fight they'll run in between the walls that will hurt playable characters, but don't seem to hurt pets. Yeah,
there's some serious derpiness going on there.
Weird derpy derps. But we've got another go at Zul this week, so we'll have a
we should have a full couple of hours on Zul, because the last time it took us so long to get through all the nonsense trash that we only got like 2 or 3 pulls on Zul. So
the ring of death, as it were, because there's just so much trash.
I found last week's raid so difficult, because the week before I'd tanked it with Corrin, going through the tactics and all this sort of thing. Very much enjoyed it. But then I went back to healing last week, so I suddenly found myself charging forward, about to make pulls. They were like, "Nope, stop,
do
stay
that."
where you are."
But you are our melee healer, so
that's true.
So you do sort of have to charge it, but you don't. As long as you don't pull the thing, you're fine.
Yeah, well, that was it. I was trying to make the pulls.
Yeah. But are you still enjoying Paladin at the moment, though?
Oh yeah, I am actually. I went full circle. There was a phase when I really wasn't enjoying Rep Paladin, and I was considering just saying, "Look, I'm not doing DPS." But actually, all I needed to do was just get over myself and get in my head like, yeah, you've spec'd a character, you've geared a character to be able to do 3 roles. You're not going to be the best at any of them. So as long as you can hold the threat and can tank, as long as you can contribute to the healing, and as long as you can contribute to the DPS, then it's better for our raid and our mythic groups that I can be flexible enough, and I'm enjoying that flexibility, and occasionally doing like battlegrounds as a healer rather than as a DPS or a tank. It's and then doing PvP as a tank. It's quite fun.
Yeah, like that's one thing I do really miss about playing a druid main, is that I don't now have the versatility that I did. I mean, yes, of course, I can spec shadow and DPS, which has only recently started being okay again.
Have they fixed that?
Sort of fixed it. It's like there's seems to be a bit of a disconnect in the amount of buttons you need to press before you get to like your main sort of stack ability.
Right.
Because I can't remember what the gauge is, but each class has a spec where it has like its own bar, Like, you know, how Arcane had the Arcane Orb thing. And you had to sort of get the stacks of it up. This one's a bar that goes from 0 to 100. But it seems a bit clunky for me, but that might be because I've not streamlined it as much because I don't normally play as Shadow. But I only really play Shadow if I'm doing Mythics where I'm not healing. So not
I mean, that's one thing, though. I mean, if you wanted to have a play with the spec, we could either do Mythics or maybe even like the Time Walkings when they're up. And you know, I can heal. Oh, that'd be fun. And I can heal, and you can get your DPS on and see how you like it.
Yeah, that might be a good idea actually. Although whether that helps with the scaling, because the fact that Time Walking scaling is horrific.
Well, yes, that's true.
We can have a go at that. But have you done anything that isn't WoW related for Geekery this week?
I have. I've been playing D&D, and I've been we've been tormenting our GM, not on purpose, but we're finding the Dragon Heist module very strange. For a start, there's a load of filler quests that the module basically straight up says this is a filler quest, and we've just come round from that and back onto a main plot, and so I think I went into it last session about there's a big explosion and all this sort of thing, and one of the people we're trying to track down is sorry. I'll go back. The very first session, we ended up chasing someone through the sewer who got away. Then we ended up in the next session following a clue to follow some markings, which led us through a sewer. And then in this session, we find someone who's got mud on their boots that is sewer mud. And so our first instinct is like, right, let's go back down the sewers. And unfortunately, that's not where the module wants us to go. And there is there's no anything pre-prepared for that. And although our GM would probably be happy to improv something, obviously she'd prefer if we made a bit of progress instead of going completely off the rails. And so it's just everything seems to be pointing us to going down the sewers, even though at no point are we actually supposed to do that. God. So yes, and it's always someone else, like someone who wasn't at the previous session, who's at the next session and says, "Oh, I think we should go down the sewers."
Nope, all the nope. Oh dear.
So yeah, there we go.
I had a bit of D&D. It was a weird session because we're on. It's really difficult to explain the plot because it's a really good plot, but it's a lot of parts. But we're on a part where we're traveling to retrieve orbs from various obelisks in this land, right? And we have sort of like what the players have self-described as the Skyrim compass, where you have like the arrows and they just point, but they don't tell you how far the thing is. But they have the direction of where we're meant to go. Anyway, we ended up in a forest. We found an orb and there was a troll guarding it. And one of the other, I play a monk and someone else plays a swashbuckler, and we were like, why don't we try and grab its attention and get it to chase us while the other people have like 5-10 minutes to sort out the orb? And we were like, fine, I'll give it a go. So we taunted it, and then we had this mechanic where it was a case of we did athletics checks to see how many squares we were in front or whether we fell over or all that stuff, which was the good bit. Until the point that we had the mage in the other part of the party message one of us and says, "It's okay, you can come back now. We've sorted it out." And we were like, "Okay, but how do we get there without having this troll chase us?" To which we thought, "Fuck it, we'll just bring the troll with us and we can hit it." To cut a long story short, 20 minutes later, one of the characters was dead.
Oh dear! Well, like permanently dead, or
the troll got a critical hit. And it was a critical failure, so it was an automatic 2 hit to the failure. Yeah, ouch. And we couldn't get to them in time to revive them before they had to roll, and they failed the last one. So that didn't go to plan. But this next session of D&D is the PvP Battle Royale thing, so that's at least I've got that to look forward to with my Arcane Trickster. Going to make people go mad with laughter. And hold them in place while I just run away and laugh. And we'll wait for each other to kill them. And then I was just like, so there's a barbarian left that has a little bit of hit points left. Oh, okay. Just do some fire bolts at it. It'll be fine. Uh, it'll kill them off. So yeah, I have to let you know how that goes. But what I'm interested to know is your opinions on where D&D is at the minute, because I don't know if you heard the rumors, but there might be a new book coming out as part of the 5e series.
I'd heard that the PAX guys were getting a book. It's the first.
Yeah, that might be the thing that I'm thinking of. Yeah, because I saw it on Twitter the other day.
Yeah.
But I wanted to know what your thoughts were on having sort of non-official or non-affiliated D&D things affecting the game itself. Like, are you all about that? Are you just like, no, I'm strictly part of the please, like, you know, I only use the official things from D&D. Like, what's your sort of opinion on?
I mean, I'm happy to use homebrew for all sorts of things because A, the more diversity, the better. B, I think it mixes things up and keeps things interesting. Otherwise, it becomes a very much sort of, you get players even though they don't mean to, accidentally going, oh well, that's a such and such a dragon. I know how to kill that one. I've done this trick on it before. I'll just do it again. I think it's nice to keep things more interesting. I don't particularly subscribe to the Adventurers League stuff, although if people enjoy that and want to play that way, then great. I'm less about using like the Unearthed Arcana that comes from Wizards of the Coast. You know, I'm fine using some of the stuff from that. I'm happy to use, you know, any things that come out of the source books and things like that. It's like the Sword Coast and all those sort of things. I would be less about using stuff that's just been made up by Penny Arcade if it wasn't for the fact that Chris Perkins is their DM all the time, and he is Wizards of the Coast. So it's not really like Wizards didn't have a hand in this. I'm fairly sure that he was instrumental in helping them write this. And it's also a setting rather than a set of, I mean, it will have rules obviously in it, but it's a setting rather than a change to the baseline game. So it's not really much different from, you know, Waterdeep or Sword Coast. I think it could be a lot of fun to be able to play as a branch of Acquisitions Inc. But that's mainly just because I'm a big fan of the podcast. I don't necessarily know all of the dramas and the goings on behind the scenes. I know there have been some, but the actual sit down storytelling with Chris the GM, I do enjoy that. So I think I'd get a kick out of playing in their world. I always love anyone who's done great world building. Scott Johnson from Frog Pants Studios is playing in a game at the moment for There Will Be Dungeons, and that's set in D&D 5e, but with a modern
I've been listening
twist
to
on it.
some of those episodes.
And the world building that the GM Bo Schwartz has done is really, really cool, and I'd get a kick out of playing in a world like that as well. So yeah, I'm quite happy. I'll probably pick up this book. I don't know if my my gaming group will want to play it, but so yeah. I mean, there's other things as well, like the Ravnica book. I think I want to get and have a look at. And potentially play that, which is obviously that's come from Magic the Gathering originally, rather than
that's what I was thinking about, how crossing franchises into the same world might actually be a good way to integrate player bases, because Magic has such a huge following. So yeah, just wondered what you thought. Really,
what do you?
I'm not a purist in that sense. I'm very much a fan of the homebrew stuff. I use a lot of sort of like I can't remember off the top of my head what it is, but there's like the 5e wiki pages are full of homebrew projects and things like that, of class builds and things like that. So I've always been a fan of homebrewing, but I sometimes feel a bit put out by preference in terms of like an official publication thing by a different group. So I'm not sure whether I would have preferred it just to have been like a self-released homebrew thing, like, available to everyone, which anyone can enjoy, like everyone's been doing for years, but maybe this one's promoted a bit more. But to have it sort of like, no, this is a thing you can buy, and this is sort of a licensed world thing. It seems a bit kind of it's like it takes some of the fun out of creating your own things, I find. But if it brings more people into like tabletop RPGs and stuff like that, then I'm all for it. But it's maybe not something that I personally would endeavour to look at. But that my mind could be changed. So
that's fair enough. Well, I'll have to give you a report on it if I pick the book up. So you can see what you think.
Let me know. I'd be interested to see what you think.
But listen to us, our homebrew ways, liberal, metropolitan, bardic snowflakes as we are.
Bardic snowflakes. No, I'm definitely what they call it, a Loxodon bard. I'm definitely the elephant people trying to play.
Oh wow, okay.
I love
play your own trunk.
Yeah. See, I'm not happy the fact that that's not a thing that you can do as a bard when you're a Loxodon. But that's like you should. If you're a bard, you should be able to use whatever instrument you choose, and if that's your own trunk, then
what book are the Loxicon out of? Because I don't think I've come across them.
They are. I can just Google this for you.
Because the only ones I've not got are the Sword Coast and
they're called the Races of Ravnica.
Oh, it's this Ravnica one, is it? Okay,
yeah.
I haven't bought that book yet, so
yeah. But there were some nice PDFs of the pages of the Loxodons, and they're basically just like, imagine a huge, great, big fucking barbarian, but it has an Indian elephant's head on it.
Nice.
Yeah, like it's weird looking at like a picture of like what is essentially a humanoid elephant, but it's like, but they have disposable thumbs and fingers, and
it's not that much different to a Tauren, really, is it?
But they remind me, they look very sagely. Like you could, if you put a robe on one of them, they're very, very humble things. Yeah. But I would love to be a bard and just like, I'm going to play my trunk now and send to a story and all this sort of thing. Yeah. But
nice.
Yeah.
Do you know, I miss the fact we never got to get very far with the between expansion D&D WoW game that we.
I know there's only so much time that there is in the today, though.
Yes, this is true. But we all did a really good job of creating characters that were. I say we. I wasn't doing it. I was GMing it. But we all did a really good job of creating characters that replicated the abilities of our in-game characters, if that makes sense. Like even down to Bert working the mechanics to effectively have a taunt. I thought that was very very cool.
The fact that I had blink and made myself go into the Vindicare by mistake. That was my highlight. It's like, I'm just trying to. Oh wait, no, I've just stepped on the portal. Fuck. And then I just run straight through the Vindicare, say hello, and go back to Dalaran through the portal. Don't mind me. Don't mind me.
Yeah, that was good.
But speaking of WoW,
yes.
There's going to be the new season of PvP starting this week, and that also means that we get a new raid.
Yes,
which we're probably not going to touch for a long while, but that's not the point. But there's also going to be important changes to how Mythic Plus dungeons work, and I just wanted to go through them and just sort of see what you thought.
Because we've already experienced some of them.
Yes, so there's going to be a dungeon scaling. So heroic and mythic dungeons will be buffed by health and damage by around 30% compared to that of normal dungeons. So normal dungeons are staying as they are, but a few tests on the PTR found that the average works out to between 125 and 130% of rounding up from a normal health. Right. So a bit more. It's basically like having the tyrannical affix, but just not as powerful. So I'm all for the difficulty of the base being done as long as the loot is appropriate. And so all base dungeon loots will be upgraded by around 30 item levels each. So the fact that normal dungeons will now drop 340 at a max level rather than 280 to 300 to a 310, as they are now, is pretty good. Heroics will go up to 355. And Mythics will start, Mythic 0 will start dropping 370 items. That's the important one for us.
That's because most of us are getting to the point where that's our average item level.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So
will they drop 370 offhands for you?
Oh,
Robbie?
fucking hell. Don't get me started on that. There was a specific emissary where they've introduced called weapon emissary cache boxes. So, you know, how you get the Azurite armor from some of them, and you just sometimes you get a normal item piece from another. They've now got weapon caches. Of course, I get a fucking wand. Not an offhand, a wand. So it's been 6.5 weeks, Blizzard. Give me my fucking offhand, because this is fucking ridiculous. Anyway, Mythic Dungeons, the plus, the scaling of Mythic Dungeons is going to remain the same. Dungeons will continue scaling at around about 8% per keystone level, which is what they are now. Mythic Dungeons are based off the base dungeons with a buff, so the normal plus the 30% and then plus the 8 for each keystone approximately, so you can kind of work out where it's going to be. They've now got a new continuing affix, because we had the dungeons where they had the Curse of Gahoon, I think, where sometimes you would get an ad appear from some of the old god mobs. But now they've got one called Reaping, which happens as when you kill a non-boss creature, a ghostly form of it will appear. It will do nothing and be untargetable for the time, and then when the group reaches 20 to 40 to 60 to 80 to 100% on the enemy forces bar, all current ghosts will become targetable. So think of it as there's like an extra mob for each mob that appears at certain increments of how many of them you've killed.
But you can't fight them until
you reach the threshold of whichever multiple of 20 you are on enemy forces.
Okay. So it's almost like just adding in more mobs that just take the place of the...
Yeah, so once defeated, the mobs can't be resurrected again. So, for example, you won't get... If you kill one mob, you won't get 5 ghosts. You will only get the 1 ghost.
Oh, right, okay.
There's also going to be a mob called Buon Zombies, which is amazing. So our favourite Buon Samdi is going to have some little friends. So each zombie will look like the mob that it spawned from. However, it will only it only has access to new abilities based on what type of zombie it is. A zombie's health pool will be 50% of the health from what it spawned from. The zombies are not affected by the affix, so for example, they won't get a damage boost and they won't get a health boost. And the zombies will not proximity aggro other alive mobs. They will only aggro other zombies. So you could... That's a better way of doing it. Because immediately that could have provided a horrible problem, couldn't it?
Yeah, because can you get this and bolstering at the same time and end up with like...
I'd imagine you would get bolstering on normal mobs, and then each of them will get 1 ghost. So yeah, I'd imagine so. I'd imagine that's how that works. But you wouldn't get, say, 2 ghosts out of 1 for the bolstering effect, if that makes sense. You'd only get 1. You still only get the 1. So I now need to... So there's 3 types of zombies, and each zombie has a specific set of spells that it can cast. There's not really very much information at the minute about this because this isn't live, so I can't really go into it. But just know that there's 3 different types, and they have different things of, hitting you in the face with. So that was that's the seasonal affix for the next however long we're going to have a seasonal affix for. So the bit that we're looking forward to is the loot and the item increase. So loot from weekly Mythic Plus chests and end of dungeon runs is increased by approximately 30. So you will not receive an upgrade weekly chest until the 29th. So this week's one's not affected. So we still get the same that we would if, because we completed the 4, we get the 360 or whatever it is at the minute.
Except we haven't completed anything.
Oh no, we did. We completed 1 because we did Motherload before.
Oh yes, we did a 3. We did a 3.
Yeah, sorry,
yes,
3.
Right.
So I can't remember. It doesn't have the numbers at the minute. But for example, if we complete a Mythic 3, we would get about a 355 or a 360 approximately. At the end of
that was Sorry, I was just going to say that was a strange, like ramping of the difficulty, because between a 3, which we absolutely blew through, and I didn't feel like I felt like it was one of the easiest fights, one of the easiest versions of that we've done. And then at a 5, we suddenly hit a brick wall. It's like the ramping between 3 and 5 is suddenly very odd.
Well, think of it this way. My item level at the minute is about 375, 376, right? The new way that they're scaling it means that at Mythic 3, the item I get at the end is a 375, right? And a Mythic 5 would be about a 385 to a 390. So think of it that way. Think of it in item levels rather than the actual damage amount. Imagine fighting someone PvP that has an average item level that's about 10% higher than you. You're always going to have a tough time with that. You might win, but you're going to be at a disadvantage, aren't you?
Yeah, that's true.
But at the end of the dungeon, we normally get a reward of about a 340 to a 345 item, don't we? From the chest at the end. So now we're going to start seeing 375s to 380s to 385s in our range of mythics at the moment.
All right, that's
but
good.
The important bit is that the weekly chest then is about 10 points higher than the average item that we get at the end of a dungeon. So for example, if we complete a mythic 3 at the end of the dungeon, we get a 375, but in the weekly chest we get from the Harbour Master, it would be about a 385. So
cool.
It's looking like we're going to get, even though it's going to be a bit tougher in terms of the amount of damage and stuff from the outset, which we know we're fine with damage increases. It's the amount of mobs that we have trouble with. But we should be seeing a item level increase that's easier for us to actually increase rather than consistently doing 3s and 4s and being like, well, that's not an upgrade. That's not an upgrade. Oh, look, that's still 10%, 10 points lower than what I'm at the moment. So that's where we were struggling with. We were doing these things, and we were like, but we're not really getting rewards anymore because we can't get to the point that we're getting rewards because we're sort of stuck behind a wall. So now, hopefully, it'll be a bit more accessible.
It's a bit frustrating, I have to say.
Yeah. Hopefully, that'll change. Hopefully. Because because all we would have to do to get an average eye level of 370 is just to do normal mythics until everyone has an item that's in every slot, theoretically. Like, you know, I'm still stuck with something. I can't remember what it is. It's either a legs or a wrist or something that's still at 355 because of the RNG of things.
Yeah. And isn't this, so wasn't one of our groups saying earlier that there's something broken and it's giving you stuff for the spec you're not in at the moment?
Yeah, there was something from the item caches from the emissaries that meant that if you were trying to get the weapon cache, it would try and give melee DPS the other spec. Right. So if you were Blood Death Knight, it would try and give you a frost item. And I'm like, oh, that's a bit bad. You better sort that out.
That's bad, but still usable. Whereas if you're a marksman hunter and it starts giving you pole arms, you're going to really be annoyed.
Yeah. Imagine that though.
Here, I've dropped a 395 pole arm for you. Oh yeah, great. Can I shoot things with it?
It's proc to 400 because we love you that much.
Yeah.
And then you'd be like, well, fuck this. If I've got a 400, I'm going to go survival and just do it. Yeah. But are you...
Hold my beer, I'm charging the bad guy.
Exactly. So are you hoping that even though the difficulty is going up a bit, the rewards would be worth it? Are you hoping that's going to be the case?
I am. And I'm much happier being the tank in this situation, but I worry that it's going to make things frustrating enough that we just get pissed off with doing the mythics, and that's I hope that's not the case because we're already struggling to find time to get things done in the week. So
yeah, but while we've been recording, there's been a thing on Wowhead saying that on the 24th there's going to be a developer Q&A for the season 2 thing with Ian Hazakostas, so that will be interesting to see what will happen. And also there's going to be a thing about 8.1 point whatever it is coming up, where we get the new allied races. So hopefully we'll get to hear a bit more about that, and hopefully flying, because God, fuck me, I need flying now.
Oh yeah, it's a good point actually. We've jumped through all the first lot of hoops. It's bad enough that there's a second lot of hoops, but to not actually give us any information about it is
a bit pants. Yes.
Yes.
Okay. But I'd be interested to see what other people who do mythic dungeons rather than raiding or PvP like we do think about the changes that are going on. So yeah. So just to finish off the show, I was listening to a very well-known podcast called Hello Internet, which if you don't listen to it, you should, because it's really geeky and fun. And they were talking about that for applying for, I think it's called an ESTA for the US. To go to the US, you need to not only have a visa, but it's sort of like a thing on top, isn't it? I can't remember how it works. I've never really had to do one. But there was they were talking about how it used to be really easy to apply for, and you put your passport number in, you say the reason you were going in, you'd be done. And then one of them had to renew it because they last about 5 years. And one of the hosts had to renew theirs. And they noticed that one of the optional things for the information you can disclose to the US government had a question about what their social media handles were. That raised a bit of a red flag in my head. But so I've been thinking about this for the last couple of days, and I thought I would ask you. So the question that I have for you is, do you think it's right for countries to ask for online social media information when you apply for the appropriate visa? And what possible consequences are there to this in your mind?
I'm going to have to go ahead and say that's a hard nope.com there, Robbie.
Yep, good. I'm glad, because otherwise there would be a big hoo-ha, wouldn't it, really?
No, I don't. I actually would go slightly further than that. I'm usually very anti-governments having any kind of legislative or censorship of the internet as a whole. And while I understand that there's an element of, the state should protect its citizens, I feel it should be more like, the same way that no country can own the moon or own the planets. No one country should be able to control or limit access to the internet and what's on the internet of anyone else, be it its own citizens or other countries. I was very much a proponent of the net neutrality to stop American companies throttling access to services that you hadn't paid extra for and that sort of thing. I don't think your social media and your online presence has any more bearing on what you do in the country than, say, for example, if you went to America or I don't know, India or whatever, France. If you were going to one of these places and one of the questions wasn't just what's your Twitter handle, it was what's your sexual preference.
Oh God, right? Like, especially in a country like Iran or Indonesia or somewhere like that where it's punishable.
Yeah, exactly. Or, what's your religion and your views on creationism? What's your stance on pro-life or pro-choice? It's, these things have little bearing on why or what you're doing in a free country. I know when I applied to, this was a few years ago now, but I flew to Mumbai, and a lot of the questions on the visa application form were basically, have you visited Pakistan? Are you from Pakistan? Do you have relatives from Pakistan? Now, okay, they'd just seen a massive terrorist incident which had really ramped up the fear in that country, a few months before I was due to travel, but still, it's like, yeah, those sorts of questions wouldn't be permitted in the UK because they're too specifically targeting one ethnic group. I definitely don't think that how you think or feel about something, which, let's face it, is the only thing you're going to get from someone's social media profile, what they think about something, is any business of the government's. I think that they have a right to do a criminal background check. I think they have a right, obviously, to make sure you're not bringing anything dangerous or anything like that into the country. Obviously, they have a right to prove that you are you and that you are who you say you are. But like I the last time I was in the US was in 2013, so it's probably all changed now, probably got a lot worse. But I object to have my retina scanned and fingerprints scanned when I go through the customs. It's like, why do you need my biometric data? I haven't committed a crime.
Yeah. What's the purpose of having my fingerprints? Like what?
Yeah.
Apart from having them, which is.
And then you start getting too close to what's currently going on in China. A friend of ours, and in fact, a person who's been on the show before, James, he just came back from China, and while he was out there, he was posting videos of warnings on the train that anyone being disruptive on the train could see their social score reduced.
And that was something that the guys on Hello Internet put out, was that there was this whole thing in China where everyone has sort of a social score. It affects everything, including like whether you're eligible for a loan, whether you're or a certain type of job. It's all very, very Black Mirror.
Yeah, I mean, I think that you start to see the opposite of the whole point of the internet. The internet was an amazing thing in terms of it gave us all the ability to communicate and access information, beyond the controlled narrow channels that we were used to in print media and broadcast media. But at the same time, then now governments want to get back to the thought police of, we want to make sure you're not thinking things that we don't agree with.
That's dangerous.
And it's dangerous territory, especially given the current climate of European, UK, and American governments all sort of starting to be quite pronounced right leaning. Yeah. I'm sure Donald likes to control what everyone thinks by tweeting Fox News at people, which is probably harmless in the long run. But in the UK, we've seen a government attempt to push things through Parliament without giving Parliament say on it, because they knew they would fail. Now, thankfully, the system of democracy over here has prevented that. But there was clearly an attempt by certain elements to just get their way and their ideas just rammed through and done without sort of thoughtful analysis and informed decisions.
And there was something I was going to add to that, because, for example, if you were, I don't want to say forced, but if an application to enter a country required you to give them, say, your Twitter handle, and they had an algorithm that detected who you were following, who they were following, and you have this endless chain, right, of the proximity of you were to, say, a controversial figure who had like a verified account. So, for example, I'm not going to have like a controversial figure, but say, for example, it had gotten to the point that someone coming to the UK had to give their Twitter handle over to the authorities for them to check through their algorithm. And what would happen if they were following, say, the leader of the opposition, but not the Prime Minister's Twitter account, and things like that? There's these little nuances that open up a huge web of problems. And that was just like a hypothetical thing of following a political party or what, you know what I mean? Like you might give away more than you're intending to.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, anyone who follows my Twitter knows that there's absolutely no subtlety in my political views at the moment. But
no, that's true. But I mean, that's why people use Twitter, isn't it? I mean,
yeah, true. But yeah, I know what you mean. Like, I can imagine if I wasn't English, but I had been living here for a long time. I left the country to go home, maybe for Christmas. I came back. They checked my Twitter profile and said, "You just spend all your time ranting about Brexit and how you don't want it to happen and how you want to stay European. So no, we're not letting you in the country." Like. That would be ridiculous.
Or it would be a case of, oh look, you follow a certain organisation who's promoting one thing and one thing only, and there's no doubt of interpretation of what that is. for example. There seems to be. I don't like the. We tried to stay positive in this podcast about the integration of technology to real life and things like that, and the benefits it can bring. But this one, no.
Well, this isn't sort of straight up technology not being a benefit. This is how people who possibly fear the benefits that the communication technology brings are deciding to implement policies around it. Like, I'm just thinking we almost get to we're almost reaching a point now where we're going to need like burner phones and burner accounts to give to people. As
people do that.
Yeah,
people have throwaway accounts on Reddit so they don't out themselves for who they really are in real life. There's a lot of things like that already happening in some degree, but thankfully this is a thing that is an optional thing. But what that means though is that if they're putting it on the form as optional, it means they're considering putting it on there as a permanent thing.
It also means anyone who doesn't put it on,
that works.
Yeah.
It gets put on a list, right?
Yeah.
You get put on a list saying this person didn't voluntarily give over this information. God, that's fucking terrifying.
This person didn't give over their information. Therefore, we have reasonable cause to suspect them of something. Therefore, we can apply XYZ police powers, which only apply if you have reasonable cause to suspect a crime. So
but then on the other hand of that, you also have the problem of someone's giving them the information voluntarily, which is then used against them. Look, so where do you go with this? Do you just not have this as a thing, or do you say that this is part of a security protocol? How is this a justifiable thing?
I definitely don't think it is.
It's all very, very bizarre and weird, but I wonder what people who listen to the show think about it, because we have a lot of followers from various parts of the world, and whether their opinions would be different, it would be really intriguing, actually. So yes, if you want to let us know what you think about this particular topic or any of the topics we talk about, or even if you want to suggest things you'd like to hear us talk about, you can tweet the show. It's at TGC Show on Twitter. Otherwise, you can find us loitering around as we are wont to do, not giving out our actually we give out our social media credentials all the time. What am I talking about? You can find us loitering around VOG Network, the Voice of Geeks Network, and over there you'll find all sorts of other amazing shows. There's our quote unquote sister show, Girls Gone Wild. There's the flagship show, Orange Lounge Radio. There's all sorts of amazing shows for anyone who's into this or into any and every aspect of geek culture. So do check that out. It's www.vognetwork.com. We, as we mentioned, we do raid with the wonderful ladies of Girls Gone Wow. If you'd like to join us on Wednesday nights for casual raid nights, although we get casual TM.
Yeah, casual TM. Then you can join them on their Discord channel. All the W's, girlsgonewild.net/Discord, and there's details of how to get into that. Nothing in the inbox this week, but I spotted something while the show was recording, and I just had to put it in our WTF moments of the week. So if you go to Amazon.com in Google Chrome browser, and you press, probably any browser, but I've done it in Google Chrome, and you press Control-U to bring up the source code of the website, and you scroll all the way down to the bottom, written in ASCII characters is a duck meowing in the code.
I'm doing this in real time right now. I've got to the code. I'm going right to the bottom. And would you believe it? There is a duck going meow. For those who want absolute clarity, it's line 4740.
There you go.
That's pretty cute, though, actually.
That is funny. People are saying it actually serves a purpose, like it's there to register unique visits or that sort of thing. But yes,
as a legitimate, this is a thing of proving that you're on the actual site.
Well, yeah, I mean, most people would use like a UUID or something, but hey, if it just needs to be unique, why not Why not a flipping duck going meow?
I like that the first comment is saying it's a bug, and then someone replies, "No, it's a duck."
It's a duck, and then someone says, "But it doesn't quack like a duck."
That's the feature.
Yeah,
Oh,
I like.
Oh, apparently though, it has evolved. It used to just say meow.
Oh, right. Now it's
So
a duck
they've
saying
added
meow.
the duck. So does that mean it's now going to slowly become a face or a person or a flock? Or how is this going to work? Like,
No idea.
yeah, how very bizarre.
I keep an eye on the Amazon quacking meowing cat. Meowing cat? No, it's a meowing duck. Obviously,
The quacking cat.
quacking
that
cat.
one.
This is all just completely quackers. It's totally feathered.
Oh, god damn it.
Oh, well, what do you expect? I'm winging it.
Oh, you're going a bit foul.
All right, on that bombshell. If you want to read the show notes, you can find them at thegeekcard.podbean.com. If you want to tweet me, that's at RZBG.
And I am at Robbie_glow.
Lovely, lovely. And if we just hand over our geek cards, there we are. Very good, thank you. Ink up the stamp. And I think for the first time in 2019? No.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah?
Yeah, it has been. It is, yeah.
Well, there we go. Let's get it on with. All present and correct. Shipshape, Bristol fashion. Geek cards stamped for another week. And with that, we will bid thee goodbye.
Bye.
You've been listening to The Geek Card with your hosts, Razerbug and Robbie Glow. You can find The Geek Card wherever fine podcasts are found and on the web at thegeekcard.podbean.com. The Geek Card is a proud member of the Voice of Geeks network, where you can find other amazing podcasts like Orange Lounge Radio, Starboard Power Coupling, and Girls Gone WoW. Find out more at www.vognetwork.com.